Recording.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning. Today is Monday, July the 20th. This is the Tennessee Real Estate Appraiser Commission meeting, and we are doing this meeting via WebEx. My name is Roxana Gamusio. I have been the interim executive director with this program for a bit, and I'm thrilled to always be with you all. We will go ahead and get started by doing a quick roll call, just as a matter of order with WebEx. If you can make sure that your volumes are on mute, and at this time we are doing the recording just with audio and no cameras, but we welcome everybody that has joined us. And so let me start with our commission members. If when you could, when I call your name, unmute yourself to let me know that you are here, that will establish quorum and we'll be able to begin. Mr. Randall Thomas.
Here.
Thank you. Rex Garrison.
Here.
Dr. Warren McCarra.
Present.
Jason Bennett. Jason, we have you on mute. If you could take off your, unmute yourself. There you go.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jim Atwood.
Here.
Brett Mansfield.
Here.
And Michelle Alexander.
Here.
Thank you. We have all of our commission members present and we do have quorum. I'm going to first turn it over to Anna Matlock, our attorney, to read the statement of necessity on the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxana. I'm going to read the statement of necessity. This is a telephonic scheduled meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Appraiser Commission. Notice of this telephonic meeting was posted to the Commission's website on Tuesday, July 14th, 2020. As there is not a physical quorum present, a statement of necessity will be read into the record and filed with the Tennessee Secretary of State as required by statute. Pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated Section 8-44-108B2, which states the physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, then in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication, the governing body must make a determination that a necessity exists. That determination must include a recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based. Further, Tennessee Code annotated Section 8-44-108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting require timely action by the body, that physical presence by quorum of members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. As stated, this is a previously scheduled meeting of Tennessee Real Estate Appraiser Commission that is now being held telephonically. The purpose of this meeting with members appearing by teleconference and WebEx is to conduct regular business of the Commission, including but not limited to experience interview reviews, the education report, executive director's report, and complaints. Furthermore, it is necessary for this meeting to be held by teleconference in accordance with Executive Order Number 16, issued by Governor Bill Lee on March 20th, 2020, further extended by Executive Order Number 51, issued on June 29th, 2020, to ensure government continues to function open and transparently during the COVID-19 emergency, while taking appropriate measures to protect the health and safety of citizens and government officials. Voting will be conducted by roll call.
Thank you very much, Anna. The next item that I would like to do before we move on is adopt the agenda. So agenda and notice on the board's website was posted on July the 16th, and that gives everyone proper notification of our meeting. The link to participate telephonically is also available for the public. I would like a motion, if I could, to adopt this agenda, please.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, I have Michelle as the second, and I believe, Brett, you made the first motion. Is that correct?
No, that was me.
Dr.
McCarra.
Thank you, Dr. McCarra. Okay, so we have a motion by Dr. McCarra to adopt the agenda that was posted on July the 16th and as it stands, and a second by Michelle Alexander. I'll do roll call to accept this agenda. Randy Thomas.
Yes.
Rex Garrison.
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCarra.
Aye.
Jason Bennett.
Yes.
Jim Atwood.
Yes.
Brett Mansfield.
Yes.
And Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next, if I could, I would like to introduce the Assistant Commissioner, Toby Compton, joining us telephonically as well and participating in our meeting. So Toby, I turn it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Roxana. Fantastic to be with you guys for a few minutes today. I've got to hop off and actually join another board meeting in a few minutes, but I just wanted to hop on and say hello, particularly during this unusual time that we have with the pandemic. So I've been trying to join different boards and commissions to give a little update. Obviously, one of the bigger updates is we have hired a new executive director to replace Jennifer Peck. You guys will remember Jennifer was with the department for a few months, but then had an opportunity to move into a different area within the Department of Commerce and Insurance. She's doing a fantastic job and over there, but with that, we got delayed a little bit, but we have now managed to bring Michael Schultz aboard as your new executive director. Roxana obviously has been fantastic in training and onboarding Michael and helping with running this meeting as he gets up to speed. Michael's been with us now for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and onboarding and training people in this kind of remote environment is certainly challenging, but he's done a great job. And we thank Roxana and her team for helping out and assisting during this time. Michael comes to us with a range of experiences, and I hope you guys get to meet him in person one day. He spent 12 years with Senator Alexander, and after his experience with Senator Alexander, he was with a group that started an ETF, an electronically traded fund that was based on stocks in the Middle Tennessee area called the Nashville ETF, the NASH ETF. That company got sold off, and he also did a stint at Cumberland Pharmaceuticals, and he comes to us with a range of experience. So I think you guys will thoroughly enjoy getting to know Michael and working with him in the future. Just a couple of quick comments about the department. Obviously, for the month of July and the month of August, we will continue meeting remotely, virtually. Most of our boards and commissions have done very well with this. We've been able to get our work done, and that has served us well. The building is technically open with a skeleton staff at the moment. We've got about 3 or 4 people in each day from regulatory boards to assist customers who may happen to walk in or have an appointment or do other such things. But largely, the posture of the department and all the departments in the state, frankly, are continuing to work remotely from home. And regulatory boards has done a great job with that. We've not seen any real fall off in terms of service, timing for our licensees or renewals. And so the team has really held up well. I'll end with that. Hopefully we all can get back to doing our business in person. I think that's always the preferred way. And I think, that's just kind of the old fashioned part of me, at least. I prefer it. But hopefully you and your families are well. And I want to thank Roxana again for her commitment to the department and regulatory boards and helping transition these programs over to Michael. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anything I could answer or maybe expound on?
Oh, this is Fred McCara. I just want to echo what you said about Mr. Schultz. He's already helped me out a couple times. There was an issue with apparently my printer with the education report, and Mr. Schultz got me set straight on that. So I certainly want to welcome him to the commission and look forward to working with him. I believe, based on what I've already seen him do, Roxanne's going to be a hard person to replace, but I think Mr. Schultz will be able to do that very well.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm excited about it, and I've already seen in the last few weeks, Michael's very attentive to the people in the department, outside of the department, and he provides great customer service. Thanks for saying that. Anybody else? I'll let you guys get on to your meeting. Always feel free to reach out, obviously to Michael, Roxana, or myself at any time. And again, I thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you very much for the update, the kind words. Thank you, Dr. McCara. I do want to give Michael a chance. The next meeting, he will be running with all this, and he is doing amazing. So it has been wonderful. He and I are actually in person, kind of as Toby said, we're in the building every Tuesday. I told Michael until he gets tired of hearing and seeing me, we will continue to meet. It's a lot of history and past things that sometimes it's just easier to share in person and touch all those things. So we've been doing that, and he is doing amazing. You all are in great hands. Michael, I'll turn it over to you before I take off with the rest of the meeting, because I know we've got nothing urgent and nothing too cumbersome as far as timing. So I want to make sure to give us an opportunity to have these conversations with you as well, and the full commission to get to hear you.
Great. Thank you, Roxana. And I believe Toby's probably already ducked off right now, but that was a very kind introduction he gave. I've had the opportunity to, I believe, speak to most of you on the phone at least, and I know I've traded emails with, I think, everybody. Really looking forward to getting to meeting everybody in person. Maybe it's a generational thing, I'm not sure, but I do prefer the face-to-face conducting of business as well. And look forward to the day that we can get back to that. But in the meantime, Roxana has proven to be a extraordinarily talented teacher, and I'm learning a lot from her in the hopes that we can have the smoothest and seamless transition possible. So in the meantime, feel free, everybody, to, if I can be helpful to you, reach out to me directly. You all have my email address, and I will get around to supplying my phone number, my cell phone number, to you all, given the current state of things. That may be the easiest way to reach me for voice conversations, and I'll do that today, actually. So I will turn it back over to Roxana so that we can have the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fantastic. Just as a quick method of recapping what we've done, each one of our commission members was sent the full presentation, and so that is what I'll be going over one by one, turning it over to legal when we get to the legal report and the rules updates, and then finishing up, of course, with new business and opening any opportunities that we may have others on the call with us that have questions toward the end. So we will start with our first item on the agenda, and this would be going ahead and going over the minutes. The minutes on your presentation were pages 2 through 19. Everyone had hopefully a chance to review them. If you see no changes that are needed or concerns, I would need a motion and a second. If you could state your name as you do make the motion, and then I'll do roll call to accept the minutes from our April meeting, please.
This is Rex. I move we accept the minutes.
And I'll second that.
Second it.
I think I had two individuals doing the second. If I could have one person, please.
I'll second it. This is Brett Mansfield.
Brett, thank you. We have a motion by Rex Garrison and a second by Brett Mansfield to accept the April minutes as they were reviewed. For roll call, Mr. Randall Thomas.
Yes.
Rex Garrison.
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara.
Yes.
Jason Bennett.
Yes.
Jim Atwood.
Yes.
Brett Mansfield.
Yes.
And Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving ahead on the presentation we sent on page 20 is the report for the experience interviews. I will go over each name, and when I call the individual that you did already conduct an interview with, if I have a recommendation, I will read it. If you've got a second individual and there had been no prior recommendation, if you can let me know what it is, and that way we will go through all of our commission members that had an opportunity to have an interview, and then at the end we will do one motion to accept all those read on the record. These experience interviews become part of our minutes during the next meeting, and so they will all, of course, be part of the record. And just to remind not only the commission members, but from Michael's historical perspective, we have been conducting these interviews throughout the month. This commission does an amazing job of meeting with our future licensees, asking the questions, looking at their reports. As you all know, William Best handles this program, and I think he does an outstanding job, not only reaching out to our applicants, but then to our commission members, giving you everything you need, selecting 3 good reports, beginning, middle, and a current one for you to really see progress. And so this has been going very well. So even though we may not have all of our interviews maybe conducted at this time, even tomorrow one can be conducted. So we do not hold our applicants back. We're moving all these pieces and simply stating on the record everybody that has been accepted. And this seems to be working even during these times of not seeing people face to face. I think you all as commission members have been doing an outstanding job and will keeping up with the moving pieces so no one gets delayed. And I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do. I know it's commitment of your personal time. So during this particular period, Randy Thomas did not have anyone. So I move on to Mr. Jim Atwood. Mr. Atwood had 2 individuals, Rebecca Mitchell. She is a certified residential, and his recommendation was to approve her. And then Wesley Cockerham, also CR. I don't have a recommendation yet. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you for both of those.
Recommend to approve both, please.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We will move on to Rex Garrison, and at this time, Rex did not have any interviews. So next on our list is Mr. Brett Mansfield. Brett also had 2 individuals, Jason Higginbotham, licensed, and that interview did take place. We had a yes recommendation, and then Tanner Bates, that is certified general. And so Brett, I'll turn it over to you for your 2 individuals.
I have not met with Tanner yet, and I think Rex is doing that interview actually.
Perfect. So we have one moving for Mr. Bates or Tanner Bates to Rex, and the other one was a yes. Thank you very much, Brett. And Ms. Michelle Alexander, we don't have anyone here. So on the interviews that were conducted, we have 2 from Jim Atwood and 1 from Mr. Mansfield. I would need a motion to accept those as they've taken place.
Move to accept. McCarra.
Thank you, Dr. McCarra. We have a motion by Dr.
Second.
McCarra. And who was that second motion, please?
Randy.
Randy, thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept the experience interviews as they were stated on the record. And I'll go through roll call. Randall Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. McCarra,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Brett Mansfield,
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you. Our next piece of item is the Education Committee report, and these go to Dr. McCarra, and he has done an outstanding job again during these unique times, as most of you all are probably working from home, reviewing reports using our technology. This particular report was also sent to you, so I will turn it over to Dr. McCarra in the event he has any specific items he does want to discuss with you, and then we will need a motion to accept pending his recommendation. Dr. McCarra, it's all yours.
Thank you. We have 6 courses for acceptance, and there are also 3 course instructor approval applications. I recommend approval of all 6 of the courses and the 3 instructors. I do want to mention one of the courses, the one number 2384. One of the instructors for that course did have was twice admonished by the Kentucky Real Estate Appraisal Board back in September of 1999 and in January 2005. Nevertheless, I'm recommending approval of the course with that particular instructor, Mr. Denise, I believe is pronounced. And this decision is based on the fact that he has not committed any violations since 2005. And he has earned AQB certification in October 2019. So that's my report for consideration by the commission.
Thank you, Dr. McCarra, very much for recapping that. We would need, again, a motion and a second if you can state your record, if you would rectify and put on the record Dr. McCarra's recommendations.
So move, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. We have a motion by Randy Thomas.
Second, Michelle.
Second.
Thank you, Michelle, and a second by Michelle Alexander. I will go through roll call. Randy Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Brett Mansfield,
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And we are on to the legal piece on our agenda. The legal report will be first and then rule updates. So I will turn it over to Anna Matlock. Thank you.
Good morning, Commission members. So we will begin with the legal report. First, I'd like to introduce our new disciplinary counsel for the legal report, Ms. Shalina Brown. She is not new to the department or to the Commission, but she is going to be taking over for Ms. Kristen Downey. So I will turn things over to Shalina, and afterwards I will give you an update on the rules. Hello, Shalina.
I don't think you're muted, Shalina, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we
Yes.
can. Yes, thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. This is Shalina Brown, and I will be covering the legal report. The first one is 20200188881. This complaint involved a buyer of a property, and the respondent was a licensed real estate appraiser, and the complainant alleges the respondent appraiser engaged in fraud during the walkthrough of the property. None of the repairs that were needed were completed, and the structural items were not repaired. Later, the parties did negotiate an escrow agreement for $5,000 for the structural repairs, and all those repairs were completed. The main issue here was that all the documents listed the property as being on a sewer system. However, the home was actually on a septic system. And later, when the complainants decided to list their home for sale, they were unable to sell the home as a 4-bedroom home because of the sewage permit. The appraisal report, the title report, the MLS, and the home inspection report all listed the home as a 4-bedroom. However, it could not be sold as a 4-bedroom because of the sewer issue. And the complainant states that the appraiser should have discovered this and reported this. The respondent provided a response and stated the home had been appraised in 2016 and verified that the home was on a public sewer system with the city, as well as the MLS documents. The tax record had also stated it was on a public sewer system, and MLS did state the property was on a public sewer system. The respondent said there was no way for the respondent to have discovered that the home had a septic system based on all the information that was available. Based on this, I recommend that this complaint be closed.
Shalina, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You said this respondent was a licensed certified residential appraiser, and I noticed his license ran out in May. Did he renew or she renew?
Yes, I believe so. When this was entered, it might have had the original expiration date.
All right, thank you.
This is Jim Atwood. I have a couple of questions. I noticed there was no reviewer's report on this. Is there a reason for that?
No, this wasn't sent to a reviewer. This was also filed with the Tennessee Real Estate Commission as well, because the main issue was related to the real estate affiliate broker that sold the home. There's the allegation of misrepresentation, but there was also the additional allegation against the appraiser that the appraiser did not report that this home was on a septic system.
My second question is, how was it determined, if all of these sources indicated a sewer, how was it finally detected that it was not on sewer but on septic?
When the home was listed for sale after the complainant had purchased it, when they were going to sell the home, it was discovered that it was on a septic system, as well as when they were living there, they realized it was on a septic system. There was no issue with the septic system.
Yeah, but who determined it?
I believe the homeowner, the property owner.
And how did he do that?
But that I'm not sure. It was just discovered in the course of them living there in the home.
Well, I'm trying to determine if the verification that it was on septic could have been discovered by the appraiser. If somebody discovered it was on septic, then could the appraiser have discovered it also?
This is Fred McCara. I noticed that on page 2, it mentions that there was a dye test that determined that there was not a septic system. They were on a septic system. So I believe that's how it was discovered. Am I right?
Yes, and that was at the request of the homeowner, the complainant.
And this was after purchase?
Yes, this was after purchase. They've lived in the home for several years.
So I'm trying to trace this thing back. What gave the homeowner suspicion to do this test?
That I don't have that information. I believe they just found out in the course of living in the home that it was on a septic system and not on a sewer system.
Well, I think this is a site, but it's not fraud.
I don't know how it could be an oversight. I don't know what else the appraiser could have done to determine, short of digging up the property, if the city says it's on sewer, the agent says it's on sewer, they have a home inspection that says it's on sewer. I don't know what else the appraiser could have done.
This is Rex. I agree. Even so far as apparently the property owner or prior property owner was paying a water bill.
I move to accept the recommendation.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion by Dr. McCara and a second by Randy. I will do roll call for complaint number 1. Randall Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Pearson,
Yes.
Dr. McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to complaint number 2.
Number 2, 2020028801. In this complaint, the respondent's license had been revoked in the state of Florida and was also disciplined in South Carolina. The respondent was also required to voluntarily surrender his Alabama real estate appraiser license in April of 2019 with no admission of wrongdoing in lieu of an administrative hearing on the complaint regarding an appraisal completed in 2015. This whole matter was the result of the federal government filing a lawsuit to enjoin the respondent and others from continuing to conduct appraisals. The respondent was a defendant in a multi-defendant lawsuit by the U.S. government, and according to the lawsuit, the respondent and others belonged to a conservation easement syndicate, and the lawsuit alleged the respondent and others were willfully overvaluing conservation easements. The respondent has been an appraiser for almost 35 years and is also a recognized expert in the appraisal of conservation easements by the U.S. Tax Court. The respondent did provide notice to the Tennessee Real Estate Appraiser Commission in February 2019 concerning the lawsuit. As a result of this lawsuit by the U.S. government, the respondent's business has suffered greatly, and the respondent has had to lay off employees and shut down the office. The respondent stated the lawsuit, as well as the press release issued by the U.S. government, has essentially put the respondent out of business. When the respondent surrendered the Alabama license, the respondent was not aware that it would result in reciprocal discipline being imposed by South Carolina, Florida, and now Tennessee. The respondent is still involved in a lawsuit with the U.S. government. My recommendation is to revoke the license pursuant to the Tennessee Appraiser Rule 1255-06-.01 concerning reciprocal agreements, which states that if a licensee or certificate holder, the out-of-state real estate appraiser license or certificate has been revoked, suspended, denied, renewal, or restricted, then the commission can revoke, suspend, refuse to renew, or to restrict the licensee's or certificate holder's Tennessee's real estate appraiser license or certificate.
I have a question. This is Fred McCarra. In the disciplinary history, it says none. Is that only for Tennessee that there's no discipline, especially in light of the what it says in the second paragraph?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is Rex. I move we accept council's recommendation.
This is Brad. I'll second that.
Before we vote, can we discuss?
Yes, we have a motion and a second. Before I do roll call vote, we definitely can open up for discussion.
This is troubling to me in that there's been no proof. He volunteered surrendering his license. The other two states just reacted to his voluntary movement. The lawsuit is continuing. That's troubling that he has a lawsuit of this nature. That is troubling, of course. But in our country, we're innocent till proven guilty. I don't know if this is jumping the gun a little bit. I'm just concerned about it. I don't know if anybody else has a concern or not, but it's a little concerning to me that we would move to this strong a measure without having any proof.
Actually, this matter would be brought to hearing before the commission after this recommendation is made and the board makes a decision on the complaint. I would have to bring this matter before the commission for a full hearing where all the proof would be presented.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Can I ask what is the individual a resident of?
One second, I'll have to check.
I guess I really just wanted to know if he lived in Tennessee.
No, he is a resident of Alabama.
Thank you.
This is Roxanne again. Thank you. If there is no further conversation, I want to make sure that everyone's had a chance to ask any other questions. Otherwise, we have a motion to approve the recommendation for this case by legal counsel. We have a motion by Rex Garrison and a second by Brett Mansfield. We will go ahead and do roll call to get everyone on the record. Randall Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood.
I think I'll abstain.
Thank you. Brett Mansfield
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
The vote still passes on number 2 with the council's recommendation. We'll move on to number 3.
Number 3, 2020037381. This complaint involves a certified residential real estate appraiser. The complainant is the executor of his father's estate and retained the respondent appraiser to perform an appraisal of his father's home. The complainant paid the respondent by check after the appraisal was performed, but never received the appraisal report. The respondent never sent the appraisal report because he was unable to complete the report because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the quarantine requirements. The respondent provided a full response and was very apologetic. The respondent has refunded the complainant all sums and apologized to the complainant for the confusion and inconvenience. My recommendation is to close this complaint.
I'll make a motion to accept council's recommendation.
This is
I'll second
Michelle.
it.
I'll second.
I have a question. The next several cases are all kind of similar, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
I was wondering, is it possible, it may be not according to the rules, but is it possible that we can lump them together since they're all basically the same thing? They have to do with problems related to the COVID-19 epidemic?
Sure.
Can I make a motion to do that?
Yes, sir. If we just conclude number 3, and then we'll move on to the 4 through 11.
If I could interject just really quickly, they aren't really, if we're talking about the AMC cases that had to do with the panel report, I don't know that they're all identical. But I think, Shalina, if Dr. McCara is for putting those that are exactly the same together, I guess we can. I just don't know that all 6 of those cases are the same and have been resolved, and the AMCs have made it right.
If we can return to number 3,
Yes.
I believe that there was a motion and a second.
There's a motion by Randy Thomas and then a second by Michelle Alexander. If we could vote on number 3 and then discuss numbers 4 through 10 for the AMC cases, and I can give a little bit more explanation, and then you all decide if we want to lump those. So right now, finishing with number 3, we have a motion and a second, and I will do roll call on this one since it is unique to go with closing per legal's recommendation. Randy Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Brett Mansfield,
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you. I will turn it over to Shalina, and I think if I'm understanding Dr. McCara, the next cases 4 through 10 are about the AMC new requirement, if you will, for them to register with the appraiser subcommittee by doing by providing to each state the list of the appraisers on their panel. And so just to take a quick minute to give a recap, this is a process that our administrative manager Caleb Darnell had to work very closely with. We worked on this for a long time to develop the best method for Tennessee. And obviously, Jason Bennett, our representative for AMC's, worked closely with me as well. So we determined that our companies in Tennessee would file their reports once a year for the January through December period and report to us early that following year. So between January and March, we opened up the ability to report who they use on their panel. And we started with somewhere between 140 and 150 companies licensed in the state that had to report. So I'm giving us a lot of history. Just to piece this, we ended up with about 8 companies that didn't do their reporting before complaints were open. I believe 2 made it right, and those are the 6 complaints that you have before you between numbers 4 and 10. And in a second, I will turn it over to Shalina to lump them, if you will. But the only piece that I do want to add on the record is that in reviewing the legal report, Ann and I worked a little bit on this. I wanted to make sure that you as commission members understood what took place. Most of these next cases have made it right. In other words, they have gone back in after they got the complaint and filed the actual report with us, paid the fee if they owed it for the number of appraisers they needed to pay, depending on whether they are a single state or a multi-state. That money has been forwarded to the appraisal subcommittee. So even if they didn't owe anything, they still did need to file. We only have 2 cases, case number 6 and case number 9, that have not made it right with our office yet. So that is the only additional information I wanted to provide in case we want to lump these. That would be no problem at all, but this is the first time that we're seeing these cases. We may see them every year. Hopefully we won't, but once this goes away, we will proceed with the cases and close them as the commission sees fit. I also did want to let the commission members know that our new representative with the ASE is Claire Brooks, and tomorrow Michael Schultz, your new executive director, and I will talk with her to kind of go over this whole piece because this is new to the companies, the AMC companies in every state. Not all the information being provided might be perfectly accurate. We're wanting to make sure that we get on a really good path since this is going to be an ongoing yearly thing. So having said that, I don't think I have anything else to add. Shalina, I'll turn it back to you to decide how you want to lump these cases and what other questions the commission members might have.
Can I interject real quick, Roxana? This is Jason.
Absolutely, Jason.
Okay. I would just like to say I actually have had 2 companies reach out to me directly. I don't know if either of those 2 are listed in this report. I had one company reach out because they apparently overpaid by quite a bit for the state of Tennessee. And although this on the surface, I think Tennessee did a pretty decent job of laying it out and explaining how to do it. That's not the case in all the states. We have gotten such a varied response to this. Some states are interpreting this completely differently than what the statute says. And it has not been as easy trying to determine what everyone needs to do on a per state basis. So I don't know if it's possible when you have the conversation tomorrow with ASC if they can send out some real specific guidance to the states. We have some states that are asking for so much information. It literally took us about 5 hours to put together the information for the appraisers. Not only did they want to know what appraisers we were doing business with in the state, they wanted records of the appraisals that they completed, the number of appraisals. It was absolutely ridiculous when my understanding is we're supposed to be able to prove the number of appraisers and then pay a fee based on that. So just my 2 cents in what this experience has been like. It's been a logistics and paper nightmare for some of the states.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it, and I think your colleagues on the commission do as well, because for most of them, and you're directly impacted by this. So I understand that, and I can't thank you enough for working with me early on. So the reality is that the AC has given us information as state and holders and responsible people to collect the data, but not decisions on everything that's needed. So hence why I think your statement that some states have just left confusing information, not clear, because it really hasn't been very straightforward. So I'm looking forward to this conversation so Michael can wrap his head around it, because there's so many moving pieces. And if we have any opportunity to improve the way we did it, I definitely want us to do that as a state. For the most part, we haven't had complaints. Caleb has literally spoken to every one of the companies, and I commend him on everything he's done, because he had to transition between directors as well. No one, if they did overpay and you've got a name, Jason, if you don't mind having them reach us, because no one has told us they've overpaid. And of course, at this particular time, Tennessee did not add any additional fees. We kind of did the work and moved it on, right? All the fees came in, and we moved them to the ASC. So we did not add anything on for Tennessee, which some states might have. We didn't see that at this time. That was a need, and we definitely want to look and see how we improve for the next time. So I appreciate your feedback on this without a doubt, and you may be able to guide the commission. If we're looking at 6 complaints, obviously number 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10 have made it right since then. They have provided the office with their report. If they owed a fee, they have paid that, and it's gone already to the AC. I'm personally just asking the commission to maybe, and not necessarily, you don't have to treat 6 and 9 differently, but they have not responded to us yet. Those are still pending the report, and the report might be simply saying, no, I don't have anyone over the number 25 for multi or number 15 for the single state, and we still close it. Or as commission members, you close them all. That's at your discretion, but I just needed to point those 2 out. And I think for now I've got nothing else. Shalene, I will turn it back to you, but I appreciate you, Jason, giving your colleagues some information on how this has gone through.
Roxanne, I have a question.
Yes, Brett.
Do you think that the conversations that you're going to have tomorrow will be in or information that we would need to, decide on the other 2 cases?
That's a great question. I don't think so, simply because this entire panel report, annual report, and $25 fee per person, and that has all been in the records and in the ASC's portion for years, right? The due date of when this would go effective moved a little bit. So as of June 4th, 2020, every state had to be on board with this if you're if you're going to be working with federal money and doing those size of loans, and we needed to provide this information by June 4th or ask for an extension and a reason why. Tennessee didn't ask for an extension. We started looking at these pieces definitely seriously since 2018 to think through how we were going to do it, but we didn't start collecting the fee and demanding that information until the end of the 2019 period. We did make the decision to not have to do it early on and take the money until it was due. So I don't think necessarily the conversation will have to wait for these cases or that the cases will wait for the conversation, because the ASC left a lot of open pieces for the states to decide. They didn't decide for the states, which is why, back to what Jason has said, and in some states it's gone worse than in others, maybe. I assume every state did the best they could, but I think in our case, we rolled out separately from your renewals. We kind of want it kept as a separate piece, this annual registry report. And Caleb's been adding the AMCs to the National Registry as they paid. And So we're going to talk about some of those companies that might have not given the right information or might have not maybe needed to be. We're going to connect those pieces with Claire. But as far as the complaints, and Ann and I did go over this, we had the authority to open complaints because they didn't do this requirement. That is also in our statute. They needed to have reported. So whether the commission wants to close them all and just do a letter of caution on those that didn't do it, or a letter of instruction on those that didn't do it yet, that's definitely an option.
Can we defer 6 and 9 until the next meeting?
Shalina, how would you feel about that on cases number 6 and 9? Those are unique because as of Friday, they have not reported to the office and completed that information so that the ASC could consider it the report finished.
Yes, if the commission members would like to defer those, they can certainly vote to defer those to complaints.
All right, I'll make a motion.
I've got a question before we get to that point, and it's more of clarification. For example, like case number 7, it has a date of first license as July 2011, but a disciplinary history dating back to 2000. And there's one, the same thing with number 8. There was prior history before it was first licensed. I'm just would like some clarification on that.
Okay, I'm not sure why that would be unless they had a different license number. These are just compiled. We can double check on that to make sure. The disciplinary history is usually pulled from their license, and we can figure out what happened there.
Rex, that's also a number 11. The dates the same year that they were first licensed. It's almost like they're picking up a license number of like the appraiser license number.
Right. That's what I wondered.
Crossing over.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, an AMC is not going to have a consent order for misrepresenting number of units on a residential building.
Right. That's why I was just curious on that.
If I can chime in for a second, I'm looking at the information right now, and it looks like the previous complaints that predate the AMC were opened in the name of a single respondent. So instead of the AMC, so kind of exactly what Jason was saying beforehand.
Can I make my motion? I guess I can. I make a motion that 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11 to be closed. 6 and 9 be deferred until our next meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Jim Atwood and a second by Randall Thomas, and we are lumping cases 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11 to go with disciplinary counsel's recommendation to close, deferring number 6 and 9 based on the fact that they have yet to complete the report that the office can use to submit to the ASC. If I didn't get your motion correct, Randy or Jim, can you let me know? Otherwise, we're good?
That's correct.
Excuse me.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, Roxana.
Yes.
Roxana, if I could just read these complaint numbers into the record.
Absolutely. All yours. That makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. Number 4, 2020035701. Number 5, 2020035671. Number 6, 2020035851. Number 7, 2020035852. 202035 number 8 2020035891, number 9 2020036471, number 10 2020036501, number 11 2020036531. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a motion and a second, and Ms. Brown has read all the complaint numbers onto the record. I will, before I do roll call, I just want a little bit of guidance on 6 and 9 that we are deferring. We're obviously going to have a conversation with our representative that does our audits with the ASC, but after we do roll call, I want to go back to 6 and 9 and get guidance on what it is we're deferring for. So if you all can think about that for a minute, let's go ahead and do roll call to get these cases moved on. Randall Thomas.
Yes.
Rex Garrison.
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara.
Yes.
Jason Bennett.
Yes.
Jim Atwood.
Yes.
Brett Mansfield.
Yes.
And Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you. And Shalina, that may be your call. I apologize. I think we just need some guidance on what we're looking for cases 6 and 9.
Sure.
I can speak to that. That's in my mind anyway, and that is that they comply. If they comply between now and then, we'll close them.
So would it be appropriate to send them some type of letter of instruction, something, because these reports were due, and Jason can reiterate this obviously, by March 31st. We gave them January 1st to March 31st with the conclusion that was plenty of time for everyone to reach us, call us, look into the statute, get these pieces moving. We followed up with reminder emails to the AMCs that had not complied. I believe the follow-up happened more than once, at least twice. So there was plenty of time to make it right. The complaint that they've received explains that the report is needed, and again, time to make it right. So if just left with nothing else being done, I don't know that they will. So Jim, I appreciate the recap of the expectation for them to do it, but what do we do to get these two companies to reply?
Well, I would have assumed that since they haven't, that there would be some correspondence, continuing correspondence with them until they do comply. I would have assumed that. But I have no problem with you providing some type of letter of instruction to indicate that this is required, and you can even say it will come before the commission again in October if it has not been resolved by the October meeting. Jason may have some additional thoughts on this. That's just my thinking.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I wouldn't. We had one state that we were very unsure of, that we back and forth with. We still weren't late, but I don't know if it's appropriate. I'd be happy to reach out if they're confused and explain it to them. I know Caleb's reached out, you said, and I don't know if he spoke to anyone there or not. But I mean, if we can't do, it says disciplinary action is not required, then do you revoke them?
And that may be extreme. I don't know that the ASC foresees that extreme, but something to think about. If we do just defer, yes, between Caleb, Michael, even myself, we can reach out again. Caleb definitely has. There's not a company of those 8 that lingered and got behind that he didn't personally communicate with. We can attempt that again and simply bring it back before the commission at the next meeting. That delays the cases, but that isn't that wouldn't necessarily be a terrible thing. But just as an option, a letter of instruction coming from legal counsel that points back to this statute again and gives a time frame may not be a bad thing. That's not necessarily, as we, true discipline. It doesn't go on their record. It could be something more official, just something to think about. And Shalina, I welcome any other thoughts that you've got.
Can I ask this is Randy.
Yes,
I think we do need to have a letter of instruction, because you have other companies that did what they were supposed to do on time, and if you just let these go, it's kind of a slap in the face to the people who've done things in the way they should have and in the proper time.
And if I could ask, did you actually speak to these people, or did they ever respond in any way, shape, or form? And the reason I ask that is there has been several AMC mergers this year, and I don't know if these people potentially still have an active license, but have potentially merged with somebody else and feel like they've complied because the other company has made the payment as well.
Right. So yeah, there have been at least 2 follow-up emails and actual conversations, but you're right. We did have even maybe at least 2 that surrendered the license in Tennessee and don't really didn't really need it or use it. So with that in mind, I don't know that just another call and random email makes sense. To Randy's point, and it is a good point, all the other companies have had to jump over these hoops and get it done. So just something to think about. If we do send a letter of instruction instead of deferral, we would need a motion for that. Otherwise, as it stands, cases 6 and 9 are being deferred, and I guess we, the office, would have to decide what else do we do to try to get them in compliance.
This is Shalina Brown. Yes, I would agree with Roxana that in light of the situation, it might be best to send these 2, number 6 and 9, a letter of instruction to remind them of what the requirements are, as well as to get them to comply.
No problem with that. So moved. We send a letter of instruction to 6 and 9.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Jim Atwood and a second by Randall Thomas regarding cases 6 and 9. Instead of deferring them, sending a letter of instruction, the letter of instruction can have some language about them being deferred till the next meeting and giving them a timeline. As we're hearing these conversations, I think that's a very good option. So with that motion, unless I have stated it incorrectly, I will do roll call to make sure everyone is in agreement or has any other conversations regarding this. Hearing none, Mr. Yes.
Yeah, is there going to be any, as far as teeth put into that letter of instruction, if letting them know if they don't do it by such and such date, what might happen?
Shalina, I'll let you voice the wording for the letter of instruction. Generally speaking, it is more instruction than true warning, but I'll turn that over to you, Shalina. Shalina, your mic is not on. Regarding the letter of instruction, I believe the question was, is there going to be any true warning on it or statement?
Roxanne, I think she's taken off, shut down her phone.
Okay. Okay. So something might have happened with Shalina. So
I can convey that.
Yes,
I'll make sure that we talk about getting that information in the letter.
Okay. That sounds great. If that's good with the commission, we will make sure that that letter of instruction has specific details and the time frame for them to submit their information to us. And obviously these then will come back to the commission at your next meeting, which I believe is October. So with that, I will move on with roll call, and this is for cases number 6 and 9 that we are not closing, but rather doing a letter of instruction. Mr. Randall Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Brett Mansfield,
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you. So we are moving on now to case number 12. And if Shalina's been bumped off, and with our technology, it's wonderful when it works, but when it doesn't, we kind of have to jump in for each other. So I will assume that Anna can help us out and go with number 12.
Hold on one second.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to continue the number. I'm going to pick up with number 12. So complaint number 12 is 2020-016-221. And this complaint is against a certified residential real estate appraiser. The complainant is the seller of the property and the respondent. The allegations of the complaint is that pertains specifically to the comps. It's stating specifically that the first comp was only recent sale and not listed on the MLS, so the concessions were not visible, and the subject property was of a mass marketed land sale. The second comp is over 18 months old and 15 miles away. And the third comp was almost 3 years old, not located in a similar area, and was 15 miles away. The respondent, the complainant alleges the respondent failed to consider the recent comps in the same vicinity. There were no active listings or recent sales with similar views/topography difference of the subject property to the comps. The subject is not flat, while the comps are so access limited and fill dirt is needed. The complainant alleges the respondent is working to meet value on the sale contract with no viable report. The respondent provided a response and stated the appraisal prepared for the bank and purchase transaction. The property is located in a gated community in a rural county that is sparsely populated. 6 comps were provided in the appraisal report, and this was not listed on the MLS. This was sent out for expert review, and the expert reviewer found no violations. So the recommendation for this complaint is to close it. And I believe we have Shalina back if you have any additional questions.
So I'm so sorry, Commission members. I dropped off. I lost my connection for some reason.
I move to accept the recommendation. This is Fred McCara.
This is Randy Thomas. I can't vote on this. This individual called me and asked me about this.
Thank you, Randy. So you'll be recusing yourself, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Rex. I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion by Dr. Warren McCara and a second by Rex Garrison to accept legal counsel's recommendation to close. I will do a roll call vote, and the first one would be Randall Thomas, who's recusing himself.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Rex Garrison?
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara?
Yes.
Jason Bennett?
Yes.
Jim Atwood?
I guess yes.
Thank you. Brett Mansfield?
Yes.
And Michelle Alexander?
Yes.
Thank you. That takes care of case number 12. We're on to number 13. Thank you, Shalina.
Thank you, Roxana. This case is a represent to the commission. It's case number 13-2019-055-151. The complainant is a Tennessee homeowner and the respondent, the certified residential real estate appraiser. The complainant alleged the respondent's appraisal had several inaccuracies, including the size of the site, the condition of the property, the room count of the property, the bedroom count of the property, the gross living area, and failure by the appraiser to include the size of the screened-in porch. The complainant alleges the lender made the respondent aware of the discrepancies, and the respondent did create another report with 2 of the 3 same comps. And this was done in less than 24 hours and included a change of 15% change in the square footage. The complainant stated that not all the discrepancies were corrected, and the respondent failed to meet the standards of the industry and has committed ethical violations. The respondent stated that no specifications were available except for the tile flooring in the kitchen, bathrooms, and screened-in porch, and the property owner stated that certain specifications were in the bid sheet that would be completed after the appraisal was completed. Respondent stated generally in situations in which there is a proposed addition or renovation, a room-by-room description is given with those improvements. But when the respondent arrived at the home, the addition to the main level was discussed, but the expansion was not discussed. The respondent did look at the plans provided in the file and saw 3 floor plans showing the existing first and second levels, and the first floor with the proposed improvements, and the respondent used the first floor plans to assist in the actual measurements of the improvements. The respondent scaled out the improvements, which totaled 3,187 square feet, including the first floor addition. The comps that were used, the respondent alleges the comparable 3 was renovated at the time of the sale and 5% larger than the original appraisal gross living area and 8.5% smaller than the revised gross living area. Respondent stated the 2 sales chosen were the best sales to compare the property to the appraiser's opinion. The comparable property is from a neighborhood with larger dwellings superior in location to the complainant's neighborhood with much smaller dwellings. The reviewer did find that there was some issues concerning the appraisal, that there was limited evidence in the report concerning the subject property and the comparables used, and the analysis was not adequate to show how adjustments were derived. The report didn't provide sufficient information to enable the clients and the intended users to understand the rationale behind the opinions and conclusions. The original decision by this commission was to issue a consent order with a $1,000 civil penalty and to require 30 hours of sales comparison and continuing education to be completed within 180 days of execution of the consent order above and beyond the minimum CE. New information has been presented by the respondent. The respondent submitted extensive additional data and additional explanation and produced all notes taken by the respondent and the additional documents that were used in preparing the appraisal report, which were not previously sent to the commission. The respondent also provided a lengthy explanation concerning the process undertaken in conducting the appraisal and produced all the comparables used and explained in more detail the methodology used by the respondent for this appraisal. The documents produced are the evidence and materials to support the findings in the appraisal report. My new recommendation is to require 15 hours of sales comparison and continuing education to be completed within 180 days of execution of the consent order above and beyond the minimum CE.
This is Fred McCarran. I was wondering if instead of the sales comparison, or in addition to the sales comparison, maybe report writing course might be called for in this case?
I have a question about the reviewers. The reviewer looked at the new information, but you have not given us his report, his or her report regarding the new information.
Yes, all this new information, additional documents was submitted to the original reviewer for further consideration. I have not heard back from the reviewer.
I'm assuming that all of the new information is information that was obtained and analyzed after the fact, after the appraisal was originally submitted to the client, and after the complaint was filed, the respondent went back and got additional information. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
As far as USPAP is concerned, all of the new information is irrelevant. All of that should have already been in the work file. And since it wasn't, and it's all work that was done after the fact, it still renders the appraisal report non-compliance with USPAP. My motion is we do nothing. We just leave the original decision as it was.
That's what I'm kind of wondering, Jim, did they send this new information after he figured out he had a $1,000 penalty?
It says in the new information. Yeah, sorry. It says in the new information that the respondent produced all notes taken by the respondent and the additional documents used in preparing the appraisal report, which were not previously sent to the commission. So do we know that he or she produced these after the fact, or was this just documents in the work file that weren't produced?
These were documents that were done during the appraisal, but they were not produced and not in the appraisal.
Well, then my question is, why were they not produced? They were asked, they were requested.
I'm not sure why they weren't produced. They should have been included.
This is Michelle. I have a question. Under the new recommendation, it's requiring a 15-hour class for sales comparison that would need to be above and beyond minimum CE. As far as I remember, we don't have any 15-hour classes, so they would be taking a 30-hour class. And does that mean that 15 hours would not count towards their CE, but 15 hours would count toward their CE?
The CE is in addition to, in this complaint, the additional penalty here is the CE, and it would be in addition to the regular CE.
Do you have a time frame on when you expect the reviewer to review this additional information?
I was hoping to have received it already, and I have not. I don't have a time frame.
Again, my question is, was the report insufficient? Was it badly worded report?
I believe the report did not include all the information.
Dr. McCara, I believe at one point you brought up that to better assist this individual moving forward, as opposed to the 15 or however many hour the sales comparison course would be, you would recommend something with report writing. I don't think we have a motion on the table yet, and I know that Mr. Atwood had some concerns about going back to the original motion. So those two are the, I think, ongoing conversations, just to see if we do have a motion on how the commission would rather proceed.
Roxanne, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we defer this until the next meeting in hopes that the reviewer can analyze the additional information. Since the reviewer was the person who looked at the original report and the work file, I don't know that personally I have enough information with what was provided to make a decision on this right now.
We have a motion. Do we have a second to defer this?
I second. This is Rex.
Rex, thank you. We have a motion by Brett Mansfield and a second by Rex Garrison to defer this. My conclusion is mostly also to make sure that the reviewer turns in the information so that the commission has everything in front of them to make a better educated decision at the next meeting. Unless I'm incorrect, do we have any other conversations regarding this? Okay. Hearing none, we will do roll call for number 13. Randall Thomas?
Yes.
Rex Garrison?
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara? Dr. McCara? Jason Bennett?
Yes.
Jim Atwood?
Yes.
Brett Mansfield?
Yes.
Michelle Alexander? Michelle Alexander, you've got me on mute. There you go.
Yes.
You're good. Thank you. And Dr. McCara, you're still on mute for your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect. We're completed with number 13. Did you have any questions, Shalina, or does that take care of the legal report?
That will take care of the legal report. Thank you, commission members.
Thank you very much, Anna. I will turn it over to you for the updates on our rules.
Okay, have a couple of updates. As the commission is aware, we had 3 sets of rules pending, 2 sets of proposed rules, and 1 rulemaking hearing rule. All 3 matters went before the Government Joint Operations Committee last month on the 30th, and our rules were approved for promulgation. 2 of our 3 sets of rules have already been, they are effective as of July 8th and July 12th. The last set of rules that we're waiting for an effective date will be on Wednesday, July 22nd. And those are the rules pertaining specifically towards distance education courses for qualifying education and continuing education. So the rules regarding the supervisory appraiser and registered trainees, those rules are already in effect and have been passed essentially. So all we're waiting for is Wednesday for those rules to go into effect. So essentially on Wednesday, that means that the courses specifically identified by the commission, the 15-hour USPAP course, the 30 hours of appraisal principles, and 30 hours of appraisal practice or procedures, those classes will be allowed to be taken online via distance education, and up to 1/2 of the continuing education courses will be allowed via distance education. If you need a recap of the other rules that have gone into effect, you should have received a copy of the e-notify via email sent out last week and the week before regarding those specific rules, and a link to the new rules that were set out. So at this time, we only have 1 set pending, and after Wednesday, our rules will be complete. Yay. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. This is Fred McCara. Since there is a limit on the number of courses for continuing education that can be taken as distance ed, when someone applies to take a course for, again, continuing education, would it be would that be indicated how many courses he or she has already taken by distance ed?
So
Would
they
rec-
can take so licensees can take up to 1/2 of the courses, and that is something that we'll be tracking on the
Okay, thank you.
license side.
Thank you.
And Dr. McCara, if I could add, and at the hearing itself, we did have to add a little bit to explain this. So it is 50% of the online courses, and you of course understand that for the online courses, they're vetted a little bit different. They need that unique approval number. The distance learning that you're referring to, or sometimes we refer to it as virtual learning, that is part of our new world, right? And many of our companies that are approved for the in-person courses have completed what the ASC asked us to gather, which is a little bit more information, and they can teach their course virtually. Those do not count as online. Those are virtual courses that is almost identical to in person. And the ASC approved that given the unique times we're under, and they are still in the path. Those are still options. So hopefully that adds some clarity. Those are not considered online.
Yeah, let me make sure I understand this. In education, we have something that's called synchronous online. And that means that as the instructor is instructing, the student is learning. And that makes them different from asynchronous, which, is maybe what we think of in the old days as online, where the course was put together some time ago and it's available by computer, but the person taking the course cannot directly ask questions or participate in discussions because essentially it's all as a computer course at that point. So, are you saying that the course that you're referring to is what we would refer to as synchronous online, where as the instructor is presenting the course, the student is taking the course?
Yes, that would be what
Okay.
we're calling virtual or distance, and it counts as in person. So you gave a great breakdown because we in every profession we're having to have this conversation. So you are absolutely right. That old vision of online still exists, is approved a little bit differently. That is what you can only take 50% of. But this
I got you.
yeah, and I refer to it as when you can't sleep at 3 in the morning, you want to take a course, that's an online course. There's no instructor right now able to have that conversation with you. It's not live, whether, through your computer. So this has opened a whole new world for many of our appraisers because that is still considered that in-person course and they have more options.
Yes, I think we're just, it's a matter of vocabulary.
Yes.
And some of these terms are being thrown around to mean different things to different people. So we better be very clear that we all understand when you're talking about a live computer presented course, that the only difference between an in-person is the fact that, like you said, you're watching this or taking this course away from wherever it's being instructed, but the instructor is directly talking to that individual and he or she can respond not only to the instructor, but to other people in the classroom. So again, I think we're all sort of learning this new vocabulary with the new way of doing things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
So Roxanne,
what y'all are talking about is more continuing ed and not qualifying ed. Is that correct?
Yes.
that was going to be my question.
The rule that Anna's been referring to that we had rulemaking hearing on dealt with the additional courses approved as qualified education. And those, to the best of my knowledge, are still the specific courses that were approved to be done online. I don't know that any of those have been presented through the in-person model that Dr. McCara just explained to be done virtually and be considered in person. So we've moved those to be offered to be able to be taken online based on that rulemaking hearing. If we wanted to do more because they're not being offered as this asynchronous time, as this virtual new reality to our world, we would have to put new rules in the pipeline for something like that.
And I guess that's why I'm bringing that up.
Yes.
Is that something that we want to do? I believe our next meeting is in November instead of October. We moved that back. I think the end of last year when we met last. But it's November 9th. But maybe look at, in essence, modernizing our education to include some of these type classes for qualifying ed, more expanding those, and also, and I guess if we're going to do it and modernize the education, maybe sort of tweak some other areas. And I've run across this as far as people reaching out in a lot of states. If a class is approved by the AQB, the state doesn't necessarily go through their process of approving that class. And maybe to sort of take some of that burden off approving every class, maybe we adopt that in Tennessee. In addition, as far as one thing that has been brought up is maybe developing some type of evaluation for the classes that people are taking. And one thought I have is when they submit the proof of their education, with that proof, provide a brief evaluation of that class, how it was, and that way we can gauge some of the classes that are approved if they're actually being effective or not. Because right now we don't have any mechanism in place to gauge if the classes are being effective or not. But that's just some ideas that I had. In addition, on the synchronous side, I think we need to add some verbiage that the instructor needs to be IDEC certified, and add some, I guess, clarification or specifics to the requirements of the instructor for those type of classes. Just some thoughts that I'm throwing out there.
And that's certainly possible, and that's something that we would have to do by rulemaking. I would just need some further guidance because I would like to bring the commission's attention back to our previous rulemaking hearing that we had in October of 2018, where we tried to permit more qualifying education courses to be presented online or via distance education, and that was something that was rejected by the commission at that time. So if that is something that we're going to be moving forward with or considering now and this time, I will just need some more guidance on exactly what we need to do.
I think we're living in a new world. I think we've learned a lot in that time frame. Also, because of the necessity of providing these types of classes, the technology has gotten better, and those classes can be offered at a higher level than back to like what Roxana was talking about, somebody waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and taking an online class. I think the quality level of classes are out there, and you know, in today's COVID world, things change rather rapidly, and I think we need to be moving in this direction because of how long it takes for us to actually get this approved. I think we need to be talking about it and moving quicker to get it in place. Otherwise, there may be a gap in their where people can't move through the process, and we don't want that to happen. So I guess that's where I'm coming from on this.
Agree, Rex. I think we need to start on this now because we do have people that are stuck. I've got somebody in my office who's stuck, needs one more class, and we can't find it for him to take in person.
Hey, Roxana, is there anything, do we have the tools in place to instead, because the rulemaking hearing that takes a while. I mean, right now, like Michelle just said, there's people who can't get through the process because they can't find online classes. There's universities who are not even allowing online classes in the fall, and so for us to still mandate qualifying education in class during this is not realistic. Is there anything that we can do outside of changing the rules, kind of short term, that that we could, I guess, bypass that for the time being?
Some
No.
type of emergency rule or something, Brett?
And
Is that
Anna,
what you're saying?
Exactly.
and I can look at the path to emergency rules. They still aren't really fast. So obviously, if the qualified if the provider that is offering the qualified education can offer it instantaneously, virtually, through this synchronized process where they're available to answer questions, that can be treated as an in-person course. That's not online, so it could count. It would be up to those providers to use this methodology to launch it. And the ASC has given some guidance. Now, unfortunately, with qualified education, there too, their hands have been kind of stuck because the tools just aren't out there for those. So we couldn't, and Anna can correct me, we can't bypass what the ASC and the Appraiser Qualification Board has approved, and they realize that there's a huge need for the qualified education to come to the current times and the COVID world we're in, but that hasn't launched at their level either. Now, if that happened and changed next month, we would jump on board because we can follow those federal requirements. Unfortunately, what we at the last meeting approved had to do with continuing education. So we shouldn't, our hands aren't tied there, but it sounds like on the qualified they are for right now. Maybe in the next month or two, we'll see a change. Otherwise, I would encourage, back to what Anna said, for those that were on the commission on Anna's first meeting in October of 2018, it didn't go well. We tried different things and the rules had to start all over again. I would encourage you to kind of draft some language. It has to be independently, and get this to Anna so she can use all those pieces and have a good draft for you all. And thank you, Rex. You are correct. Your meeting is November the 9th, so that at the November meeting, you have rules that have been thought through and drafted, and maybe 2 or 3 different methods, and you can get those a little bit ahead of the meeting and do your due diligence and pick something that we can really move forward with at the November meeting. It won't be that emergency rulemaking hearing, but I think Anna can set that motion, and if we treat them as emergency, I believe they would be welcome because we're holding back people from starting their careers. So Anna, is there anything you need to add so that if our members want to do some homework and start this process, we can get it to you in good shape?
Right. So if we do emergency rules, I just want to remind the commission. So when I went to testify at GovOps last month, the General Assembly wanted us to be cautious of making sure that we don't try and push through too many emergency rules, not to use this time as a pandemic as a time to use, not to go through the normal rulemaking process. But if, as we've stated before, if we are having an issue with qualifying education where people are unable to meet their requirements at this time due to the restraints, I think that would be more than appropriate manner of emergency rules. But I would like to reiterate kind of what Roxana was saying. Emergency rules are not going to move as fast as the word emergency, I guess, kind of sounds. And we would still have to go through the normal process of having a rulemaking hearing anyway. But if that's something that the commission would want to do, we can certainly have, if someone can send some language of exactly, I guess I'm hearing a lot of ideas from this conversation, but I'm not getting a lot of concrete work, like concrete matters to put into words specifically for the rules. So if we can get that together, we can have something ready for approval or viewing at the next meeting in November.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think everyone on the commission realizes the urgency of what we're all about. So my question is, why can't we just discuss right now moving all QE to potentially being available online? Why do we have to wait till November?
We can discuss it, but we would need to have specific rules and language written on and approved.
Can we just take part of it off and put the word all in there? All QE?
Use the verbiage that we used for the CE, getting the synchronous classes.
Well, we have removed the word
in person.
Well, we have removed the word classroom to help with the synchronous classroom style, but we have not, those rules are not in effect yet. So I cannot amend rules that are not effective, if that makes sense. Those rules do not go into effect until Tuesday, till Wednesday. So I think, unfortunately, we're going to have some kind of lag in between this meeting and the next meeting. And I have not looked at the specific language to see if it can be as simple as changing all. Because if you'll remember, when we amended these rules as it's written right now, we added a new subsection that said courses B1, B2, B3, which are the USPAP course, procedures, principles, or practice. Those courses can be taken via distance education. So essentially, that section would need to be taken out again, though that we just added, and then we would need to amend some additional language. So it's not going to be as simple as just changing the word to all.
Well, Roxana, you were saying these virtual classes are considered in-person classes. So for those vendors who do this, who offer these virtual classes already in other states, and other people are taking them in the state of, and surrounding states, like Mississippi allows for online education, but like so vendors have these classes already set up. If they are considered by what you've said today to be the same as in person, could we ask these vendors to specifically request approval for these synchronous classes and have that count and be a faster option?
So as of right now, based on the ASEs, we did a WebEx with them to go over these, new situations with COVID-19. It is only the virtual courses, the synchronized courses for continuing education that the ASE has given us guidance to do. And so we've been considering anyone that's approved for an in-person to also be approved for these distance virtual synchronized courses immediately. And Caleb reviews them. We have them on a list, and we've been putting them through as fast as we can. So people taking their continuing education are not held back. They have not been reviewed for the qualified education process. But back to Anna's point, I think what we definitely can do here soon, hearing the commission's desire, is reach our auditors and the ASC to find out what are our limits, if anything, from their perspective, from the appraiser qualification board on the qualified education. Can we as a state move to accept all of it online? And Michelle, I think you said Some states have all their qualified education already approved to be done in a virtual method of some sort. So if that's the case, then they
Yes.
wouldn't be in violation of the AQB. That does simplify that process. Anna's correct. The rules we just presented and are approved create a new section that we would have to avoid and make null now and clean it up. So I don't know that we'd have a very quick path, but we definitely can get the written statement. Maybe Jim, since you had some thoughts, and I think Rex did too, Brent, Michelle, we look at the language, get something written up, and we can email our members individually to get something drafted in the next couple of months. Not wait till November 9th. Maybe a new meeting date needs to be brought forth to review the draft version to start that emergency process a little bit before the 9th.
That's what I was thinking is do we have a meeting before November to finalize the wording, and then that way we can have a rulemaking hearing in November?
Yeah, we can. There are magical dates in there that Anna unfortunately might already have memorized for how long the public needs to be notified and how long we have to file it and then wait a certain amount of time, even for the emergency. So I'll let Anna fill those gaps, but I think it is doable to have a meeting before November 9th, as long as the commission gives Anna some guidance on, here's the clear language, like she said, the new rules that are going into effect this week. Give us some time frame for us to hopefully help some of our applicants do some of it online, and they can move through with that. And then we start again on trying to move all of it and follow what other states are doing and what the AQB allows us to do. And we get that draft well in motion, maybe in September. If that isn't too soon, then that way we could file that emergency notice date to come on board and have a full rulemaking hearing in November. Anna, I'll turn it to you.
Right. So if we wanted to add another meeting just to talk about rules, we would just need to properly notice it on the website, which we can do. And I'm going to need to do some math, essentially, because we have to, I believe the magic number is going to be 57 days for us to notice a rulemaking hearing to happen. But then we also have to take into account that these rules have to be approved internally and by the governor's office as well. I'll need to get some additional guidance to figure out how we can move forward with having rulemaking hearings, because at this time, rulemaking hearings are still having to be held in person. I still have 2 hearings pending for another commission. So if we want to figure out what to do, if I can start working on drafting something based on the conversation we're having today, have some additional conversations, figure out how we'll be able to do the rulemaking hearings, and then when we'll need to have that meeting. I'm going to say the sooner the better, so we can see if we can have the hearing for the next date in November. So I hope that gives some additional information.
Hey, Anna, this is Randy. Cutting to the chase, once we have a rulemaking hearing, how long before this becomes applicable?
So let's say we have a rulemaking hearing in November. The rules then go, I think the earliest, if everything goes according to plan, if we were to do it the normal route, would be probably March of next year.
Hey, Anna, is that the same for the emergency rules? Because I was
No.
reading here and it was
No,
saying that
so-
it's effective when it's filed.
Right. So emergency rules are effective once they are filed and they expire after 180 days. So if we do emergency rules, we can make sure those can go faster, which I'm thinking might be the method that we need to do. But also, as Roxana said before, we'll need to also be in contact. We want to stay tuned and see what the ASC is doing about qualifying education. But if we do emergency rules, once I get them filed with the Secretary of State's office, they are effective for a temporary basis until we can have the rulemaking hearing.
How about August 31st for that meeting? And that would be a little bit more than 60 days out before the November 9th meeting.
I think based on the conversations today, I am thinking we might need to do emergency rules, and see what happens from there. If this is something that we're wanting to have an effect before 2021, emergency rules are probably going to be the route that we need to go, but we would still need a meeting to figure that out. So I'm not seeing any conflicts on the 31st. We'll need to check internally to see if we have any conflicts with any other boards and commissions at that date, and I'll coordinate with Michael to get back to you all via email to figure out when we can have that next meeting. And it would be not a very long meeting. We would just be discussing the rules to get them approved and into the process. Does anyone have any additional questions?
Do we need a motion to do this?
Yeah, let's do a motion just in case. So I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. I will be amending the rules to make it permissible for qualifying education courses to be taken via synchronous distance education. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
Synchronous, according to Dr. McCara's definition, is the same as in classroom. The AQB has not agreed to allow that. Therefore, the ASC is not allowed that. What we're dealing with is the computer-generated online versions of these courses.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so Anna can proceed. We will need a motion. Jim, you were just the last one explaining this. If you want to make a motion, you are correct. We're dealing with online for QE in particular.
So how do you want me to word a motion? Bricks, you make the motion, I'll second.
I move we meet August 31st, 2020 to discuss revisions to the education regarding online education.
You mean qualified education, correct?
For qualifying education, yes.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay, we have.
Do we need to add something about looking at it from the emergency rule standpoint, or?
I think, Rex, in your motion, if you're referring to August 31st, 2020 for our meeting, if you're comfortable with us adding then to treat these as emergency rules, would that be okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Rex Garrison and a second by Jim Atwood for the commission to hopefully be able to meet again on August 31st, 2020, and they are trusting Anna Maclock with doing a revision to amend our qualified education to include permission for online for all of qualified education, and this would be treated as emergency rules as long as there is no problem with that date internally and we can move everything. That motion would stand. If anything needs to be changed, definitely Michael or myself will get a hold of each of the commission members so we can change the date. So the date doesn't have to be set in stone, but we're looking at making these quick movements quick. So unless there's any other conversation regarding this, I will take roll and we'll vote to make sure everyone's in agreement with this, and Anna will proceed.
Just a question. Again, we're talking with online, both synchronous and asynchronous. Is that correct?
So
that is not correct.
Go ahead, Jim.
We're talking asynchronous, not synchronous. synchronous has not been approved for QE by the AQB or the AS. We can't do anything about that.
That is correct. I think what I explained a little bit is if there is a change from the AQB, we would immediately be able to roll some of those changes and accept them because we can follow the AQB. But as Jim Atwood just explained, this has not been resolved yet. So we are definitely looking at online being added to not just the 50% that were voted on and specifically selected. It would be to all.
And again, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are talking about, when you say online, again, I want to make sure, because again, we're dealing with vocabulary issues, asynchronous.
Yes, not
Yes.
a person. This is at 3 a.m. I'm sitting at my
I gotcha.
computer and I'm
Okay.
taking this online at 3 a.m. The teacher's hopefully sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Asynchronous, you're correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have a very good motion and an understanding of what the commission would like to do. And you're not alone in this concern. This was brought up at our meeting on June the 30th. So Anna will move forward. If the date needs to be changed or has any questions, she'll reach you directly. We have a motion by Rex Garrison and a second by Jim Atwood. I will take roll if there's no other conversations on the topic and requiring this emergency set of rules. Hearing none. Randall Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Brett Mansfield,
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you all. That was wonderful. Anna, thank you so much. You're outstanding. I'm going to bring us back to our agenda, and I know we've had a long meeting so far and covered a lot, so I appreciate it. I don't think we have the final few items are not that big to move. I will, if you have your presentation before you that was emailed, our budget piece is on page 22. I think we're in line where we expect to be. We are at a good place so far, contributing an additional $288,784 to our fiscal year. Our big month always has been, and I think is this time as well, April, with a lot of cost backs and different moving pieces. But unless the commission has anything specific you have a question about, our motion doesn't, or our budget doesn't need a motion. It's information purposes for you. And I will then move to the 2021 meeting dates. Michael or I will email this to everyone. I think you do have it in what was already sent. I don't foresee us needing to change January, April, or July meeting dates, but if you look at 2021, when we blocked the room, assuming we'll be having in-person meetings at some point for October, we looked at our customary October date, but from the change and the fact that the meeting with the ASC and the Aero meeting is in October, I think it makes perfect sense to change that October meeting. So that's something Michael and I will look at, changing the October meeting to a November date. And if the commission already has a date that you're looking at, we can do that now and then have a motion to approve the 2021 meeting dates.
Roxanne, ask you a question. Do we know anything about the 2020 Aero meeting in DC?
I believe the last information we had is that it's not going to be in person, but I haven't gotten an agenda or a link to how we would participate yet.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you. So if we look at our calendars for 2021, I'm going to try real quick to find
How
that.
about November 8th?
November 8th. That sounds like a good date to me. It falls in line with what we did or you all did for the November 9th meeting. So if that is okay with everyone, we will update the 2021 dates. We will make sure to have room 1B reserved, and the October 25th meeting would move to November 8th. If that is okay with everyone, we would need a motion and a second so we can update our website.
So moved.
Thank you, Michelle. Do we have a second?
Second.
Rex, thank you. We have a motion by Michelle Alexander, a second by Rex Garrison to approve the 2021 dates. They are January 11th, April 19th, July 19th, and November 8th. I'll go through roll call for these dates. Randall Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Garrison,
Yes.
Dr. Warren McCara,
Yes.
Jason Bennett,
Yes.
Jim Atwood,
Yes.
Brett Mansfield,
Yes.
and Michelle Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you. Back to our agenda, the AMC panel report update. We really got into with the complaints, so I have nothing different to add. I think we've discussed it. I think it went very well considering it's a new piece. If the commission has any different or additional questions, I welcome those. Okay. Hearing none, the last piece that I wanted to update everyone on is regarding the ASC state grant program. This is in connection with the AMC new registry piece. Basically, there are annual grants available now. There are, and this is through the appraisal subcommittee, there's a path toward a competitive grant that welcomes innovation and obviously a lot of requirements to submit those, in a non-competitive grant that each year allows $25,000 to $125,000 to be given to the different states. This had the ASC put together a webinar to educate all the states on how to complete these. And so I'm very excited. Caleb not only participated in the meeting, took great notes, and has started the process. He and Michael are going to work together. So your new executive director, Michael Schultz, will run with Caleb on this. Our intent is for the office, the board, us to pursue the non-competitive grants, to use this money to assist in training our reviewers. That is one big piece that grant money can be used to. And I know we've had conversations on setting some minimum standards and best practices for them. So we think that something put together for reviewers will greatly benefit. We can also request grant money for the travel. That way 2 or 3 commission members could go, legal counsel, the new executive director. This would allow the program to not have to dip into the licensee's money and what we have on hand, but rather what these grants are written for. So this was just informational. I don't think we actually need a motion. The office will pursue these grants like the other states will. We'll keep you posted, and very likely at the October meeting, whether it's in person or away and done through WebEx, we'll be able to update, and they too will discuss these opportunities for grant funds. Now that I'm looking at your meeting date in November, does the commission, before we end, want to vote on members? So I welcome questions about the grants if you have any, and then separately, do we want to vote on commission members going to Arrow if it is in person? Again, the information I have right now is that it won't be in person, that it'll be through WebEx. But in the past, we have resorted to emails just to see who's available on that date and vote that way. So any questions or thoughts regarding the grants as well as the ASC actual meeting, the Arrow meeting? I think it's lunchtime and everyone is tired and probably hungry. I can understand. So on the grant, I don't need any a motion. This was information, and we're going to keep you posted as we write the grant, as we hear back and follow those steps. If the meeting for Arrow in October is in Washington, D.C. and is in person, myself and Michael will stay attuned to that and make sure to inform everyone.
Roxana,
Yes, Jim.
if that Arrow meeting is a Zoom meeting or online meeting, is there a registration fee?
That's a really good question. I don't know how they're going to handle that. The different national organizations that have had to resort to this, and because Michael and I have different programs, we get to see other industries as well. What they've done is the general meetings that lead up to, they've made available without a fee. But any meeting where there's true voting, then a fee and a true registration has been needed. I don't know how Arrow will proceed and what they'll decide. But what we will do as we get information, and I believe you all, as being on the commission, and Arrow has your information, have been getting these things as well. But we will make sure that Michael and I will make sure to communicate with you as the October date gets closer, right? Right now, we are living day to day in different states, struggling with making really hard decisions. So this is right there. They may not be at all certain how they're going to proceed, but the minute we hear, we'll make sure that you know, so that if it is done through WebEx and there's a registration fee, obviously that is still much better than traveling and the airfare and the hotel and all those expenses. So I think we would be able then to make a decision on any member that can participate. It'd be great to have you all participate. Any other questions? Hearing none, I have nothing else to update the commission on. I don't right now have any new business. I think we've addressed it definitely through the emergency rule package that we hope to move. So hearing none, Chairman Thomas, I will turn it over to you, see if you have anything else or anyone else on the commission does, and otherwise we would need a motion to adjourn.
Anyone have any new business? We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you all. You are very, very appreciated. Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Roxanne, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Michael.